is Patrick Madavi, Chief of On Deck Alumni. I've been asked by the LNHL Executive to be the Master of Ceremonies this evening. We have a tremendous turnout here. I want to welcome everyone to the LNHL Hall of Fame induction ceremonies for the 35th anniversary of the Little Native Hockey League. Okay, please be seated. I'm now going to call on the Blue Wolf Drum, which is the Anishinaabe officers of the Ontario Provincial Police. I'm going to do a welcome song. Little Native League hockey fans in attendance and little First Nations hockey fans throughout Ontario. Let's introduce the president of the NHL, Big George Francis.
I call my grandson, General Ben. So I guess I'll let that rub off on me from those guys here. Anyway, bonjour. Itinandum, kiramon pi bayai. Manzani. Bonjour, not in government, but don't eat the money. Grimmy, we don't squat. I'd like to welcome everybody here for this dinner we had, which was scrumptious, and I hope everything goes good for the rest of the week for the kids, enjoy themselves, parents, grandparents, and everybody else. Thank you.
Thank you, George, for welcome remarks. I also want to add my sentiments to that fabulous meal. And thank everyone for coming out for such a historic occasion as the 35th anniversary of the LNHL. At this time, I want to introduce the members of the LNHL Executive. Our President, George Francis. Members of the Executive, Lloyd McGregor. Robert Restool. Clarence Lewis, Franklin Pebomse, Delma Toulouse, Marvin Asinaway, Chico Ralph, Manny Neville, Mike Zeke Hill, and Darryl Hill. That is the LNHL Executive, but I want to say categorically this tournament does not run without hundreds of volunteers and people back at the community level who have been working very diligently all year. I want to pay special mention to three people that have been very instrumental in ensuring that everything has come off in the thousands and thousands of preparatory items that need to take place during a tournament of this magnitude. And our LNHL coordinator, who is also the recreation coordinator with the United Chiefs and Councils of Manitoulin, Shannon Bettlemosh. She's way down the corner over there. From Chigging First Nation. Vicky Corbier from Chigging First Nation. Beatty, working here with the City of Sudbury and CTV. I just wanted to tell a real neat little story I heard just the other day, which I thought was very appropriate. You know, it really exemplifies the humble beginnings of this tournament. This tournament started out with three First Nations. You see their flags behind us here. Whitefish River, Chigging, and On Deck Alumni coming together with some of the founders that will be introduced here tonight to start off a tournament that had 17 teams. And it was a pretty ragtag operation at that time, and this little story really exemplifies just, you know, how things started out. You saw the elder up here earlier, Gordon Wandevents from Shegwinnet was up here, and he was telling me his hockey story about, you know, the days, you've all heard these stories about how we didn't have proper equipment. So he said that he stuffed some Eaton's catalogs in his socks there, in his pants. And he was flying down the wing, and somebody body checked him, and he went flying. He said the Eaton's catalog fell out. He said it was bad enough that he got nailed. He says, but the Eaton's catalog fell on the ice, opened up on the exact page where the shin pad sales were. That's a true story. There are thousands of stories of success with this little NHL. And we can go to any one of our First Nations and watch the children that started out at the tight level and worked their way through the system and have gone on beyond this tournament to bigger and better things with the National Hockey League, with the Junior A system, and to these children becoming leaders in our communities. They exemplify the original intent of this tournament, which was to focus on education, citizenship, sportsmanship, and respect. And this is the hallmark, trademark of this tournament that we try to exemplify, in you communities that come here truly show the pride of our First Nations by having your children come here and showcase their talents. So obviously, we're going to get on to the main purpose of the evening, is the induction ceremony tonight. As I mentioned, this tournament started out from very humble beginnings. There was a gentleman by the name of Len Self. He was working for the Department of Indian Affairs at the time, in the Education Department, and he was visiting around our communities, and the leadership at that time, such as Jimmy McGregor, Jimmy Navasky, Norman Dubofsky, and Earl Abotossaway, they were talking about how their children in the area were not being given the opportunity to play in the regular leagues. So Reverend Len Self mentioned to them that in Georgetown years ago, there was a little tournament started called the Little NHL, Little National Hockey League, for kids that weren't being given an opportunity to play in organized hockey. They formed this house league tournament. So we said, let's form our own house league tournament, so we called it the Little NHL, the Little Native Hockey League. And this is how we got started some 35 years ago. And at that time, we started out with a small group, getting this thing organized, and in those days people were billeted, the reserves fed the kids, and it was very humble beginnings. So at this time we're going to introduce our first inductee. His wife Joan is here to accept the induction on behalf of Reverend Len Self, who's gone on to the spirit world. But Len, as I said, is the one that brought the original vision and idea for a house league tournament into our area, and the leadership of this area started it off. So at this time, we'll do the clip on Reverend Len Self.
After a full career as a Presbyterian minister, Len took on an assignment as educational counselor working with the Aboriginal people in Sudbury. It wasn't long before he realized the young people would benefit from organized sports and recreation. He believed sports instilled life skills of discipline, motivation, respect, and cooperation. As you can see, to this day, his belief is carried forth in the crest displayed on your sports jackets. Len believed that to accomplish a dream, one must have a vision, and from this vision would come reality. With the support and the commitment of the elders, Chief McGregor, Jim McGregor, Earl Abotossaway, Jim Dubofsky, and Norman Dubofsky, Len's dream took shape. And in 1971, 35 years ago, the Little Native Hockey League came into being, 150 young people formed 15 teams and met on Manitoulin Island, where history was made. In 1979, your people acknowledged Len's devotion to young people and sports when he was given the name Chief Buzzwaw, Man of Spirit. This was a great honor that Len cherished deeply. Len's legacy and vision is still present in the First Nations people. He would be so proud that he was, and still is, a part of your Little Native Hockey League. In Len's sermons, he would often refer to the poem, The Great Scorekeeper, by M. Rice, in which says, when the one great scorer comes to write against your name, he marks not that you won or lost, but how you played the game. And now I would like to thank you for the opportunity to revisit one of Len's greatest dreams, the formation of the Little Native Hockey League.
At this time, it gives me great honor to welcome Joan Self, the widow of Len Self, to come and accept our first induction of a founder into the 35th anniversary of the LNHL, Reverend Len Self. Joan Self.
Thank you for the opportunity and the pleasure to be with you people again. Len always enjoyed the native hockey, and it was the very best years of his life to work with all the founders. You people meant so much to him. I have with me tonight my daughter, Penelope. Where are you, Penny? My son, and his wife. They always remember when Len would come home with the hockey pucks, which you have seen there, and other hockey sticks and tournaments from the hockey tournaments. And I'm sure that Len is with us here in spirit tonight, and I want to thank you for the opportunity of being here again. Thank you.
I want to call on Brett St. Denis and Mike Brown to come and make some congratulatory remarks. Both of you gentlemen, if you come up at the same time, as well as Chief Abotossaway.
Thank you very much, Pat, and congratulations to Joan. You represent obviously a man with a big heart and a lot of love. And I just wanted to tell you how much of a pleasure and joy and honor it is for me to be here this evening, along with my wife Martine. It is very, very evident that this is all about family and about children, about kids, and the fact that you have worked so hard as communities for 35 years to bring pleasure to now over 120 teams involving hundreds and hundreds of young people, boys and girls, bring pleasure, to bring teamwork, a sense of good competition, is a testimony to not only the care that you have for your own communities, but the care you have for each other's communities. And I just want to congratulate you for the 35th, to you, George, to your executive, to the three founding First Nations, and all the others who have participated. You've done a marvelous job. You set a wonderful example, and it gives myself and my provincial counterpart and good friend Mike Brown another chance to brag about our wonderful communities as we represent our part of Ontario in Toronto and Ottawa, respectively. So keep up the great work. Thank you.
nominee. I am absolutely delighted to be here with this first presentation to Mrs. Self. It is an extraordinary pleasure to represent all of you, or I guess not all of you here, but all of my constituents in Algoma, Manitoulin. And as the Speaker of the Legislature, I suspect all of you. Anybody here from Manitoba? No. This is a grand evening. This is an important thing we do here tonight, just to honor those that have founded this great enterprise. And it is a great enterprise. It's an enterprise about young people. It's an enterprise about teamwork. It's about all our values as a society. It's about the values that Manitoulin folks on our First Nations brought back those 35 years ago and have been adopted across the province by First Nations and reserves everywhere. And that's a tremendous thing. And it's happened, as Chief Pat has been talking about, it's happened because folks have continued to volunteer, and I think that's the key word here. Thousands of volunteers over the years, I suspect, have been involved, and that's extraordinarily important here in Ontario, and clearly in our part of Northern Ontario. So I'm not going to make any grand speech, but just congratulate George and his team for putting this together, all those that have founded this association, and all those that make it work so well. Thank you very much.
On behalf of the executive, it gives me a great pleasure this evening to present the first jacket in the induction for Len Self to Mrs. Self, and I think she's going to be the most spectacular model that we're going to have this evening. So I'm going to have her just make a little twirlette here. Congratulations.
We're so honored that one of the original founders is with us here tonight. This gentleman is, and I don't use the word gentleman loosely, because this guy was a phenomenal hockey player, but a real gentleman on the ice. Had the distinct pleasure of playing hockey with him. He's an awesome hockey player over many years. He's a leader in his community to this day. He's a former chief. But he was the one that, when Len brought this idea to the area, did a lot of the initial running around to try to gather the support of the three communities and his counterparts to get this thing going. And I'm speaking about Jimmy McGregor. Jim is from Whitefish River First Nation, and as I said, he's been instrumental in preserving the history of this little NHL. And if you get an opportunity over the next several days to walk into the little NHL Traveling Mobile Hall of Fame, it's a testament to Jim keeping the history of this little NHL alive, that you'll see some of the artifacts that are in there. And what you see in there presently is just a taste of what's to come, because this trailer only arrived just the other night. We didn't have time to put everything in there yet. And this thing will be packed with all kinds of memorabilia from the years gone by, and will be coming to a community near you soon in the near future. So at this time, we're going to turn the video on James McGregor.
It started off with Len Self. Him and I talked about a little tournament for little boys. And at that time, I wasn't too sure just what we were talking about, but anyway, he got the idea and introduced a tournament to us in Little Current. And that's how I got involved. He kept asking me to take over, so finally I said, okay, I will do it. And in order to do it, I had to get the other First Nations involved to help me out. And the First Nations were from the island, Wiki, West Bay, McCollum, Chiking now, and Sucker Creek, Colima, on the King. So those are the three reserve, and plus my reserve. And of course the other ones that participated, Moosonee, I think, came down, Nipissing, Sagmuk, Garden River, I believe, came down. It was 16 teams anyway that got it going. This idea of little NHL, when it came about, that was the one. That's the one that we needed to get our kids out, get them motivated, and not only that, they can play hockey, but we have to have education. And education is the most important thing. Hockey we can play as we go along. But I think we had a crest that says sportsmanship and education, and I think we should follow that. Because we need a lot of people that, we want a lot of our young kids to go through school, whatever careers they want to go after. We need them. Every First Nations community needs them. I think the first year or second year, everybody wanted to host a tournament. And I think this is where we really found out that we need volunteers. And I don't think we had to ask too many people. Everybody wanted to volunteer, help some way, somehow, to keep that tournament going. And we need the help. We need these volunteers to keep it going. And like I said, it was 16 teams. Now we have over 80 teams now coming. So we need a lot of volunteers. And I'm hoping that they can all cooperate and help the people that are running the tournament. We need the volunteers. After 1 or 2 years, I started to realize the tournament was building. I mean, the tournament was growing. We're getting more teams coming in. Here I am, we're trying to follow the rules. And so what I had to do was get these other First Nations communities to come in and help, like the recreation departments, the people that were involved in recreation came in to support, sat down and read over the rules and regulations. Said, maybe we should change this a little bit and add something else. And it was them that did all the work too. They really made it what it is too, what it is now.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jim McGregor.
Good. Thank you for being here tonight. I can't believe that's my voice on that screen. But I'll give you a little history about the LNHL. Everybody seems to have their own version. Back in 1971, Len Self was working for the Department of Affairs, recreation for the First Nations in the area. I was the chief of White River Bend First Nation. One day, at one of our meetings, he approached me with this wonderful idea of putting the tournament together for our local First Nation. I approached the chief of Chigin, the led chief Jim Dubofsky, and discussed the idea with him and the other chief from Sucker Creek with the late Abotossaway. As we were keenly aware that we had nothing for our young people to look forward to during the winter market break. It was a very exciting time, and we thought we had a big time. We had 16 teams to start with, and our first tournament was in the old little Park Arena. It was hosted by 3 nations, Whitefish River, King, and Chigin. We really depended on each other for financial reasons. The fees at the gate was very important to offset our other expenses. After our first tournament, someone came up to me and asked if we were going to have another one the following year. And I said we would, not knowing what I was getting myself into. We had 2 or 3 of the tournaments locally, and it was then that the other chiefs and councils came to observe us. Pretty soon they wanted to send their teams to compete. The next thing we knew, we had 83 teams. Boy, did we think we were big then. I was really pressured by my own minor hockey league, my own hockey club, namely the late Margaret Shawanda and her husband Nick Shawanda. And of course, my 2 sons to keep this tournament going. My late wife, Georgina, was my secretary. She did a lot of work behind the scenes to keep what we have here today. There were many great moments in the tournament. I wanted to see every team win. I also felt the teams that lost were also for the first time participating. I was proud of the parents that brought their children out to the game to show them sportsmanship and teamwork. I used to get so emotional for the boys in the dressing room to see them crying because they lost or because they won. The coach would introduce them to me, and the little guys would get up and shake my hand. This was such a proud moment for me. I was equally proud to display the trophies at the band office that our teams brought home. My fondest dream was to have a museum someday to display what our children worked so hard for in the name of hockey. The tournament promotes good sportsmanship, education, teamwork, and respect. It also teaches them about other First Nations and where they are in this great circle of life. It is my hope and dream that these young people will strive to reach the highest goal in their lives. We are deeply dependent on the expertise of our recreation committees to draw up the schedule. Eventually, I formed a committee with members from Wiki, Chigging, Sucker Creek, Sagamok, Bear Allen, Garden River, Dubofsky, Whitefish Lake, Nipissing, and Curve Lake. I had the support of the chiefs that really wanted to do this tournament. We kept Moose Factory up to date with the happening of a tournament since it was too far up north for them to come at the time. Fundraising was really a big time at each First Nations in order to keep sponsoring these tournaments. It is my expectation as we move on to the future that we keep this original plan of Little NHL, to keep it as Little Native Hockey League and not change the rules of participation. It has worked for the last 35 years. Don't change it if it works. I also commend the people that have carried on with it since my retirement. I know it's a lot of hard work and a lot of nights of staying awake to make sure things work out perfectly and to try to keep our children happy and their parents too. I always extend my gratitude to all the people who have worked so hard for this very worthwhile effort to keep this nation building even a success. With that, I am honored to be here this evening to induct into Little NHL Hall of Fame. This is a great honor. I would like to thank all the past and present Little NHL executives for bringing us to 206 in the 35 year of what we just thought an idea so long ago. I look at us today. We all sit here tonight in the name of hockey and First Nation unity. This is a great moment for our nation, a historic moment. I am thankful for all of you, to the Creator, for allowing me to share this today. Be rich.
This is by far probably the most humbling experience for me as a chief of Whitefish River to have this presentation to our former chief, and I still look at him as a chief in good standing in our community. Jimmy has meant a lot to every young person in Whitefish River that played in the tournament from 1971, 71 on and up, and truly humbling individual. And we did some research on the Little NHL hockey tournament, and I can tell you in any conversation that we had with Jimmy, he never took credit. He always said it was one of these individuals right along the line here that brought that tournament along, and that's a testament to who the man is. And I have a deep, deep, profound respect for his leadership, how he's motivated our community and helped us be the people that we are in Whitefish River.
The next gentleman we're about to honor is the late James Dubofsky from Chigging First Nation. A truly talented individual that exemplified the true meaning of leadership. He worked tirelessly. He was one of these go-getters for the money that helped get the tournament going. He's instrumental in his own community in bringing in an arena and many of the facilities that are in Chiging today, and hockey schools, and the promotion of sports in the area. Very supportive, you know, at all levels, whether it be at the Robinson Huron Tree level, Union of Ontarians, Chiefs of Ontario, to support the little NHL politically when the support was needed. Raised a big family himself with some talented hockey players in the family, and you know, again, one of these fixtures at the arenas, watching the games. A true gentleman as well. This time we'll watch the clip on former Chief Jim Dubofsky.
Jim made good relationship with chiefs of other nations throughout Canada. He was involved in many organizations and committees that improved the lives of his people. He was very interested in projects that would help the youth and the children from First Nations communities. His love for hockey was his greatest challenge, and he embraced it and went ahead and started a little NHL. He had a lot of help from people like George Armstrong, Joe Drago, Ronnie Wakigijikstadt. And there was a priest as well. I don't remember his name. Norman Navasky from here was part of that team. There were many other people from other First Nation communities that were involved as well. They put on the first little NHL in '71, and I drove the kids there. I will always remember Jim's face when he saw the look in the children's eyes when we walked into the Sudbury Arena the first time. His face lit up, and he was very moved. One boy said, "Shtata." One thing Jim always said, winning isn't everything. He valued other things, such as respect, friendships, and through his leadership promoted sportsmanship and the importance of education. I would say Jim definitely left a legacy. I would like to thank you all for keeping Jim's dream alive. Chimigwech, Little NHL.
Time, call on Pauline Dubofsky.
I just want to thank everybody for me to be here, and it's a pleasure. And I'm lost for words, to tell you the truth, because these gentlemen said it all. So I just want to thank everybody.
I had a chance to interview Pauline several years ago. We were doing research on the history of the tournament, and I can assure you, in her own home, she has no shortage of words, and has a very strong memory, and is very passionate about the game of hockey and its meaning for all our young kids, not just from Chiging, from all the communities. And she carries that legacy forward from her late husband, and most fitting inductee, Miigwech.
If you ever want to see a fixture at many arenas, no matter where First Nations children played, you're going to see Norman Navasky, the late Norman Navasky. He was the ultimate hockey fan, him and his wife Elizabeth. No matter where you went, they were there to cheer on the Anishinaabe children. Strong volunteer in his own community. He was instrumental in coaching and working for the betterment of sports and recreation in Chiging First Nation, and an avid contributor to the Little NHL hockey tournament over the many years. And he also had a large family of sons that played in the tournament, and we really believe this Norman Dubofsky really exemplified not only what it is to be a volunteer, but to be a true hockey fan. So we could watch the video on Norman Dubofsky.
He was the one that started Little NHL. And he had, at Lakeview School, that's where he went. He went over there, and anyway, you want help, you let me know, that Mr. McCaskill said to him. So he used to go over there a lot. They made the ice outside with the children and the janitor. And they made ice. So they, sort of a rink outside. So they played hockey there. To this teacher, we should have a name for this, like these group, the boys that played hockey. We should have a name, so they called them, that's how it started, Little NHL. Said we'll call them Little NHL.
Well, I guess he liked hockey because I guess he, because of the boys, we had eight sons, including my son, being the oldest. And I guess we just play hockey, and he just liked hockey. There's nobody around to do it. He volunteered his time, and he just loved hockey, and nobody else, stepped in to do it. He did because I guess of the game, and for the family. At the time it happened, I remember him and Jim Dubofsky had little boys hockey too, and there was nobody else around to do it as a coach, and he had his rules. He was at first he always wanted to win, go out there, play, win this, win that. But in the end, we sort of played the game because win or lose doesn't matter as long as we played the game.
Norman Dubofsky from Chiging First Nation and his wife Elizabeth were fixtures at hockey rinks all over the north. Norm was part of the founding members that created the Little Native Hockey League. Norm was a coach, a tournament organizer, and a volunteer that kept his sons and the sons of many families playing the game of hockey, the game that he loved. Norman was a behind-the-scenes go-getter, always encouraging the inclusion of kids to play on the teams and to play in the Little Native Hockey League. Norm was the ultimate hockey fan, and his love of the game resulted in his legacy of being a founding member of the Little Native Hockey League.
Elizabeth Dubofsky to come up on behalf of her husband, Norman.
Ani, kennem go into Chiging. Ganishna amigo, Ganishna Vation, I didn't snub it down, Ganishna Vation. Chigi wachenda mshina kina wa minne go. Chibebe go digi chibo ku de jana washun. Mi uga wa do point it up nan kezi mo de be mi go. On behalf of Norman Navasky, thank you for gathering and congratulations. 35 years of hard work. He would be honored. His hard work paid off. It was same when he should be done, not me.
Elizabeth has a good phrase for all of us, the shin. Thank you.
The next gentleman we're honoring is from proud to say my First Nation on County. Earl Abotossaway. If you looked up the word volunteer in a dictionary, I think a picture of Earl should be there. This man has been for years making the rink for our kids, looking after the ball diamond in our community, and he's passed that on to his sons. In the early years of getting this tournament going, Earl, along with his brother and his sister and others from his family, worked so hard to be the host for these children that came down even from the remote communities. Putting them up right in his own home and making the meals, feeding all these kids. Tremendous, tremendous volunteer. And he's been that way as long as I can remember him. And I'm very proud to say that he still continues to be an active volunteer and active person in our community. So at this time, we're going to watch the video of Earl Abotossaway.
I was running a ball tournament in Blind River, and that's where I met him. And he talked to me and asked me if I'd be interested in doing things for the kids on each reserve. And when it started as a not as a tournament, but as a, how would I say that? Kids meeting, these kids meeting those kids over there. That's how we started. And we talked about hockey tournament like this and inviting kids from all over Ontario to see if they'd want to participate in it. And he was one of the first guys that started that little NHL down in Georgetown, is it? Mm-hmm. That's where it originated from. And he was one of the executives for that. And he says, well, why don't you call it that? Native, except native, little NHL. And that's where it's got its name. And so I went to work and started writing letters, phone calls, and everything else. And I guess there's a lot of people responded to it at that time. Once we got it organized, and I got most of the names, I was supposed to make a little pamphlet, a book, the teams and the names, what they do now. And I tried a little current, they charged me too much. I didn't have any money. And I phoned Gorbet, and they did it in half the price. So I got them to do it. And the day I had to go and get them, it was cold, stormy, and I had to hitchhike to Gorbet to go and get that. I have to have that because we're starting a tournament. I was mad. Why me? What in the world did I go and get myself into? Hitchhike to Gorbet in the wintertime? In a storm, like a nice day like this, it wouldn't be bad. But so I did. I went and got the books there. And we did. We put it together. Bush Factory come down. They had 3 teams. Mm-hmm. And when they come down, I took the whole 3. There was 3 teams. I took the whole 3 kids. And I wanted to meet them anyway, see what they live like. I talked to them and everything, and you'd be surprised what they were cared for. My neighbor has got a horse. They spent all their time with that horse, that poor horse. They couldn't kill it. They were riding it, and they'd go down there and they'd just walk around with it. And they were so fascinated by that horse. Never seen a horse. We come home here at 11 o'clock at night, and they'd run down there and go and see that horse, after dark. Get a flashlight, and they'd go. They were so fascinated by that horse. And my friend, he said, well, I don't care. Let them, they do what they want. It was a good horse. He wouldn't kick or anything. If they go back to the original way that we started this, it was an educational, and each reserve play each reserve.
We had a couple of meetings, and I said, okay, we'll try that at Jim, and
And most of the people you meet up here together, we'll try it. But it was hard then. We didn't have no cars. Nobody had cars then, and we couldn't get together whenever we wanted to. But when we did. I remember the night that we before the tournament, Jim and I made the schedule up, and Pat and my brother Clayton, they got the referees just the night before the tournament started. That's the only time we could get together because, well, in the winter time, it's pretty hard for us to get around, different communities at the time. But we did it, and I never in my life that I'd think it would get to be this big. We thought we'd just, get the kids together, and it would, just be about the same amount of time. But now, my goodness, there's so many kids involved in it. It's I quit a long time with too many kids. George is bad. They get now. I quit quite a few years ago too. But I still do a lot of work for the community and everything. Thank you.
On behalf of the community of Ondack-Umnaconning, as chief, I want to congratulate Earl Abotossaway. He's a phenomenal role model that really, as I said earlier, exemplifies the volunteer in our community. Nobody has to ask him, out there. Even to this day, our ball field is always ready so we can beat them teams from Okomakong. Ladies and gentlemen, those were the original founders of the Little NHL, Little Native Hockey League. From that great foundation came the next group of people that we're honoring, people that continued with the legacy of building this tournament up over the years. And over the course of the next years to come, we'll be continuing to recognize these builders, the people that have been involved and instrumental in helping to keep the tournament going. And there are literally hundreds of them that we will continue to acknowledge. And as well, as we're going to do here a little later, the players that have gone on and played in this tournament have gone on to bigger things. At this time, we're going to honor Tom Nolan. Tom Nolan is from Garden River. Tom was one of those guys that he was an idea man, a real organizer. And when we got together, he was heavily involved in recreation in his community, heavily involved in recreation for the Robinson Huron Treaty area, and heavily involved on the Union of Ontario Indians Recreation Committee. An active member in his own community as a band counselor, and he raised a family with a number of boys and girls. But also he comes from a big family of hockey players. And again, another example of a person that just wanted to see the children out there excel. At this time, we're going to show the clip on Tom Nolan.
Well, originally the Little NHL was designed for house league kids that don't make tournament teams. These kids, now it's huge, but we all started off with 8 or 12 teams. I think all we had was Pee Wee and Bantam, and from there it just seemed to get bigger every year. When our kids play hockey for the communities, they are a lot better than their house league teams because the coaches, they've told me over the years that these kids give 110% when they play for their communities, and they're a little shy playing with their house league teams. But you can make lots of friends. You see the same people every year. All my kids, went right through from tyke right up to midget. And it was a great time. The whole community looked forward to this. Oh, the best game has got to be Wiki in West Bay. I think it was Pee Wee division, and it was played in Peterborough. And West Bay had a girl goalie. I think it was Lisa. And she stoned the Wiki team. The Wiki team had a better team, but that girl wouldn't let nothing in. They went to 2-on-2 in overtime, and then West Bay got a penalty. So it's 2 against 1. And West Bay got the puck, and the guy went down, and he scored. That was one hell of a game. That's got to be the best game I've ever seen, as far as excitement goes. You know, it's a lot of work to host this tournament. When you got 110, 112 teams, you know, with your ice time, your referees, your rinks, and hotel rooms, because we can't go to smaller communities anymore because they just don't have the rooms. So we've got to keep it in Sault, Sudbury, North Bay, maybe. You know, it's not fair to the other team from Southern Ontario, but it's too far for us to travel. You know, majority of our teams are from here. You know, so, but I just want to welcome people to this tournament and hope they have fun and let the kids, house league kids, play hockey. Yeah. Okay.
This time I want to call on one of Tom's daughters, Colleen, to come up.
Daughter one. My dad couldn't be here tonight. He's just at home. But on behalf of my dad, I want to thank you for this award. It's a great honor. I remember all the hard work and the time that he did put into the little NHL tournament. My brother's participating in it, and the countless years that he did work with all the players and all the guys up here. Thank you.
On behalf of the executive, we're privileged to make this presentation. Tommy was also the past president for many years, and he really embodied the meaning of the little NHL, because you heard it in the end there. It's all about the house league kids getting a chance to play, and to this very day, we believe soundly in that foundation that was built for us. Be well.
The next inductee is among the builders is Fred McLeod from Nipissing First Nation. Fred is also one of these great go-getters and organizers. He's a former chief from his community. He's been a counselor. He's been working on behalf of First Nations throughout the province for many, many years. He took many opportunities to work with the children in his area. He hosted the tournament many times in the Sturgeon Falls area over the years, and worked with the committee for many, many years, and helped build the foundation that kept this tournament going. So at this time, we'll show the clip on Fred McLeod.
When I first heard of the little NHL, it was people from like Sucker Creek. I think Jimmy McGregor had mentioned it to me that there was this little NHL organization starting up, and we were asked whether the following year, and I really liked the idea because it meant that our young people were going to get a chance to play hockey and maybe a chance to play together. Most of our kids were actually playing a little bit of hockey, but in leagues in town, and sometimes they'd end up playing against each other. But we saw the need to have our kids play together and work together, and it's very much a question of community unity. That's really why I think I bought into it. Well, I think it was the idea of bringing reserves together. I was one of the Indian politicians, I guess, at the time that saw the need to really invest in our youth, to make them come together as people, as a nation, you know. So it was this working together, these working relations that we thought was very important. A guy by the name of Len Self, Reverend Len Self, had a lot to do with the beginning of it, you know. And him and I had traveled from one community to one community looking for people who would register. And so we'd go around, we'd drive from one reserve to another, picking up $10 registrations. And I'm amazed today to see from that very humble beginning where we were chasing after registrations to see the growth of this thing now, eh? And the buy-in from all the people across Ontario. And I think that's amazing. I like to see people enjoy it and enjoy the game, you know. I really think that's what it's all about. And I think that's why our people really go out there. And you never see this in a non-Indian community where you get our people really behind an initiative like this, getting behind our children, you know. And I think that's what I would really like to see them continue.
Ladies and gentlemen, Fred McCollum.
Well, my comments are going to be very brief. For a guy that never played hockey or couldn't put on a pair of skates, I've had the great pleasure, of course, of loving the game. And I've had lots of very beautiful experiences. So tonight I would just like to, of course, thank you guys for allowing me to be part of the early history of this great event, and also to be part of these great leaders, you know, guys like Pat and the guys that organize these things, you know, they've got to be special people. I mentioned in the clip about the size of the growth of this tournament. I would suggest that it's probably the best attended tournament in all of Canada. I mean, when you see all the people coming together, it's a marvelous sight. Thank you very much.
Our next inductee, another builder that has been involved for many, many years with the little NHL, is Moe Williams from Okumekong Unceded Indian Reservation. Paul continues to be an active volunteer in this community. Spent many years volunteering with minor hockey, coaching hockey teams. I've had the opportunity myself to play on teams that he's coached. And he's a tremendous fan of the game, a tremendous supporter of minor hockey. And also, he also is one of these guys that everyone loves to hate. He wears the zebra colors there every once in a while as a referee. And so he's been another individual that has been truly a remarkable asset and a builder that helped keep this tournament going. We'll watch the clip on Moe Williams.
As a volunteer, being a volunteer it's like you've pretty well given up your spare time, your family time to get involved with the kids. Again, to encourage them, you know, it's not just your little community, it's not the island, it's not the North Shore, it's the whole of Ontario where you get exposure to better leagues. There's coaches out there, there's scouts out there, and you know, encourage the kids, you know, you're representing your community, act, you know, give that respect and get that respect, you know, as a player, kids, you know, on the ice, off the ice. Now you see teams coming out, you know, it's, you know, sport jackets, you know, they've got neckties that, you know, which is good. It reflects back on the little NHL, again, on the coaches, managers, and the committee, and the executive, and saying, okay, this is what we're trying to push the kids. Like I said earlier, I've been involved like on the board 10 years in coaching on and off. I'd say about pretty close, 15 years altogether in officiating. And, you know, I like again, I said, I don't think this is going to go down. I hope it gets bigger, and it is getting bigger compared to 35 years ago. Like I said, I was pretty fortunate myself. I guess I learned from the old boys, the old school, like, you know, if you want it, it's there. But you got to go and work for it. Nobody's going to give it to you on a silver platter. And I've tried over the years and the best I could. I got a lot of satisfaction out of it, and all the little hardwares I got, I don't have them in my house. They're downstairs in my rec room. Nobody sees them. They're mine. They're not, you know. But myself personally, you know, hopefully I'm around for the 50th. I might be in a wheelchair, but I'll be there, guaranteed, you know.
You won't be line up with the ocean, which I'm going to be those all in the speech. I think you had my cigars are age, you want it starting, not yet matching you, what also trust and you will there, and what no short in the morning. How to show what dinner. I'll give you a referee. I've known Pat for a long time, Armin, a few of these guys that I've coached over the years. And like I said earlier on, I was pretty fortunate learning from the old boys. Like the teams back in the 50s, which Jim played on, and a few of the old boys from back home. And I've learned, tagging along with them, watching them, guys like Maxie Simon, Adrian Cumberland, and so on. Later on, Bill, Robert, and, you know. And I've learned, you know, I've learned from the old boys from the old school, you know. I got what I know about hockey from the reserve, and I'm trying to give it back over the years. And I played in Toronto, and I came back, and a few of the boys played back there. And we come back and try to help people out, you know. And this is what you gotta have, you know. You got something from the reserve, give something back. And I really, really appreciate this year, you know, being inducted into this. As my little boy over there would say, he told me when I told him he was pretty happy, he says, the Hall of Blame. In ref being, it's the Hall of Shame. So anyways, thank you very much.
At this time, we're going to go into the final category of the evening. And, you know, you're going to see that this week. Just the talent that is out there on the ice. And these individuals we're about to honor exemplified that talent. They are the pride of the First Nations in Ontario. They're just totally awesome hockey players. And we're going to honor them tonight. The first one we're about to honor is Ted Nolan. Ted was one of the first of our alumni that has gone on to the big league. Gone on to serve his community. He was a counselor there. He was involved with, you know, hockey right up to the national level. And at this time, we're going to show the clip on Ted Nolan.
Little NHL meant to me, I guess, the Stanley Cup to a lot of adults growing up. It was just one of those tournaments where every March break you kind of look forward to grabbing your First Nation community and going against other First Nation communities. And the first one, I think we played in Espanola, Ontario, and I still remember it like it was the back of my hand. The first time we ever stayed in a hotel room, the first time we ever played somewhat of an organized tournament, and to a young guy in a very small community, that meant a lot. And you know, playing that first game in that tournament was quite special. I think every facet of life you have to start with a good foundation, and at home obviously I had good direction from my parents. In the sports world, I think the NHL tournament, as much as we enjoyed playing in the cities where we're from, I don't think there's anything could match the friendships that you make and the friends that you play with from your own community. Not necessarily the best hockey players in the world, but for a team from your community to play against other communities. I mean, it was just one of those tournaments that you'll always remember, that had a founding impact on who I am today. A message I like to send to all the parents and all the kids: enjoy your time with the little NHL. I can't believe it's something like 35 years later, and I'm still kind of reflecting back to the time I spent in that one tournament that I played over the last number of years. And watched my two boys, Brian and Jordan, go through the same experience, and it goes by too quick. And the one thing we always got to remember about sports, it is a game, and it should be enjoyed by all, and enjoy the competition, but more importantly, enjoy the friendships that you make. And some of my lasting friends are from that tournament. I still maintain some contacts with some people back when you're 14, 15 years old. So I think it's one of those tournaments where you just cherish the moments that you're playing, and it's not the most important thing, but winning and losing. It's just about the competition. To all the organizers in the Little NHL, I think the 5 or 6 who started off organizing this thing with maybe 6 or 7, 8 teams, wherever we started with, to now getting over 35 teams. I just like to really take if I had a hat on, I'd take it off to you and tip it to you. And you just don't know the impact that you had on not only myself, but a number of other kids. And anybody who's ever played in a tournament, they always talk about memories they had going up to Sault Ste. Marie, going to Sudbury, going to wherever the tournament was at the time. They always have some fond memories of it. So to the organizers who organized this, who had the brain idea to start this tournament, I just like to really thank you on behalf of a whole bunch of us, not just a few that went on to play in the big NHL, but for all of us who participated in the tournament, I'd like to really thank you very much. Well, on a personal note, I think I scored one game. I scored 16 goals. I don't think I scored 16 goals in 16 years of hockey, but going in a tournament, and then I think going in a championship game one time against Wiki, and we had a pretty good team from Garden. We had a great goaltender, and my younger brother Steve was a younger goaltender at the time. Our number one guy got hurt. Steve had to go in and play against Wiki, and they had this player, Calvin, I believe his name was, and boy, can he shoot a puck. And I still remember Steve staying in the net, scared to take those shots. But those are the type of things you'll always remember, not necessarily the outcome, but the special things that you did along the way. And I was very blessed to go to three national championships with the Sioux Greyhounds, and we had one day we had a discussion. We talked about memories of the tournaments, and the only thing we remembered was the good times we had, and that's what I always remember, that championship game. And one goaltender got hurt, the other one, my brother pulled in. He was a little bit afraid to face those hard shots, but that's what memories are all about. To all the people who are watching out there, just I don't think you really know the impact of this tournament has on all of us. We look forward to it every March break. A lot of kids look forward to going to Florida, spring break, or wherever they're going to go. But a lot of us in First Nation communities look forward to this little NHL tournament and the fun. So all the corporates who are in that room, this is money well spent, because you're not only giving the kids an opportunity to play a tournament for the weekend, but you're hopefully give them memories and experiences that's going to help them not only in their athletic careers, but also in their social careers and academic careers. And these guys are going to grow up, and these women are going to grow up to be young fine citizens in our communities, and without corporate sponsorships, without the organizers who organize this thing on a daily basis, you really don't know the impact that you have until 20 from 30 years down the road. And you never know how many more NHL players we're going to get from it, but more importantly, how many future leaders we're going to get through the sport of hockey.
Gentlemen, Ted Nolan, of course, is preparing for the playoffs, and he'll be hosting his team, the Wildcats, will be hosting the Memorial Cup. So he sends his acknowledgments. He wanted to be here so badly, but he hopes to take his team to the Memorial Cup Championship. The next presentation is to Barry Hawk Babadook from Wassaw Sing First Nation. Hawk played for the Parry Sound Shamrocks. He went on to play for the Oshawa Generals and moved on to pro leagues as part of the Philadelphia Flyers organization. But much beyond that, Hawk was a real leader in the Native community. Band counselor in his own community, helped organize the junior teams in his area, and up until his early departure to the spirit world was instrumental in getting the Couchiching Terriers going down in the Aurelia area. We're going to do a clip on Hawk here shortly, but as I said, this is a man that if you want to play a skating game, he'll skate you right into the ice. You want to play a hitting game, he'll knock you all over the ice. You wanted to fight, he'd beat you into the ice. But he was a real gentleman and true friend. I had the opportunity to play a little bit of hockey with this man, and he was just a phenomenal hockey player. So at this time, we'll roll the clip on Hawk Babadook.
Barry Hawk Babadook. Even before it was known how he would soar on and off the ice, Barry Babadook became known as Hawk. Hawk was born in Parry Sound on April 3, 1961. He showed outstanding athletic skills early in his life and easily excelled playing in the Little NHL, and he became a member of the Parry Sound Junior C Shamrocks. Throughout his life, he was known as a fierce and honest competitor, as daunting on the pitcher's mound in fastball as he was breaking in over the blue line in hockey. As a hard-nosed winger with great speed and a blistering slap shot, Hawk moved up to the major Junior A ranks, where he played with the Oshawa Generals. During his second season in Oshawa, he racked up 77 points while spending 320 minutes in the penalty box. He was a born leader in just the style of hockey that attracted the attention of the Philadelphia Flyers. He became the team's third-round selection in the 1981 entry draft. Never afraid of a challenge, Hawk applied his skills for 2 years with the Flyers, AHL affiliate in Maine. He then joined the Erie Golden Blades of the Atlantic Coast Hockey League, where he played defense during 3 seasons. In his first year with the Blades, the team captured the league championship, and Hawk was named to the second All-Star team. During the 1984-85 season, he was chosen as the ACHL's most valuable player, and he was also named to the first All-Star team. Before ending his professional career, Hawk spent the 1990-91 season with the Erie Panthers of the East Coast Hockey League. Upon returning to the Parry Sound area, Hawk applied his tremendous leadership skills on and off the ice. He shared his passion for hockey as a mentor to community youngsters and behind the bench with the Parry Sound Junior A Shamrocks and the Couchiching Terriers. He served as a member of the Wasauksing First Nation Council and started a family with his wife Sharon. Hawk died tragically on July 11, 2000, while saving his son's life in a road construction accident. Hawk will always be remembered as an outstanding player in the Little Native Hockey League.
Ladies and gentlemen, we pay tribute to Hawk tonight, and at this time we're going to ask his wife Sharon to come up and say a few words.
Good evening, everybody. It's what an honor it is here to be accepting this on behalf of Hawk. And I'm really nervous, but I was saying to some of the executive I was sitting with, I don't know what's more nervous, playing my first speeding ticket or coming here, but I'll tell you it is a big honor for such a tribute from our people, and this is an historical event, and may many more years come for the Little NHL. Thank you.
Our next and final inductee of the evening is Gerard Pelche from Okamokong, unseated Indian Reserve. Here's another hockey player. And exhibits pure class. A real gentleman, both on and off the ice. You can still see him whether he's playing forward or defense. He's those long strides, that long reach. You know, he's still an awesome, fearsome, talented hockey player out there. He started playing in the Little NHL and high school hockey, and went through, getting recognized and picked up by leagues, playing junior hockey, going on to play overseas. At this time, we'll watch the clip on Gerard Pelche.
Because how many times in our day and age back then were we allowed to go to a tournament or ever go to a tournament where we play other teams rather than our league? It was a big thing. And then to hear we're playing other reserves, that was exciting. That was, I think, the first memory I ever had for the NHL. Then after that, it was every year going back either to defend or to beat the champions. And you're playing other reserves. And it was kind of kind of a warrior thing maybe, but it was fun, it was exciting. You got to leave home, you got to go and visit some friends. That's how exciting it was. Those are my biggest memories of Little NHL. Another big memory was staying in the school gyms. 3 or 4 teams staying in one school gym and trying to get to bed at night and getting ready to play the next day. That was a big memory. Another big memory was being able to, I was fortunate enough to be able to play the group ahead. So I played for 2 teams. I played for the Novice, or the Adams, and the Pee-wees, then Pee-wees and Bantams and Midgets. I was fortunate enough that way. I got called up a lot. One of the biggest games I remember was playing against Nipissing, and it was Dave Avery, who had a heck of a shot off the right wing. We had Ephraim Webb coming in net, and before the championship game, we said, Ephraim, just stick your blocker out, and that's where he's going to shoot. So every time Dave come down the right wing, he'd shoot. Ephraim will put out his blocker, stop, shoot, stop. After the game, Ephraim's hand, beat red, big bruise. We won the game. So that was one of the major experiences I had. Another major experience I had, I shared with my brother Bucky. We won the championship in my last year as eligible to play in the Little NHL. I was a midget, and I played with Bonishkokin and Stephen Ojic. We played against Garden River that day, and we beat them 2-1. And the biggest thrill about that is I scored the first goal. Stephen Ojic scored the winning goal. And I was lucky enough to get voted as MVP. Then we fast forward to about a few years ago when Comacong entered the team under Shag. We couldn't enter the team as Comacong, so they went as Shag. And lo and behold, who's playing in the midget final? My brother Bucky. He's the captain. So was I back then. It was exciting. They won. He won. Guess who gets voted MVP? My brother Bucky. What a moment. Well, like I said, it's now, I could say, a very good showcase for up-and-coming athletes in the sport of hockey. You gain a lot of confidence, you gain a lot of pride, you gain a lot of exposure playing in this tournament. I was fortunate enough to get drafted at the age of 16. It wasn't from a it wasn't from a midget club. It wasn't from a AA or AAA. It was from high school, and I was spotted, from what I hear, at this level, at the Little NHL, at the age of 12, and they watched me grow up. Now, with that, I was, like I said, I was lucky enough to have a lot of support. It took me to junior. It took me to Memorial Cup. It took me to Memorial Cup champion as a Cornwall Royal. I got to play with a lot of great players: Howard Chuck, Gilmore, Crawford, Boimstruck, a lot of great players. And from there I continued on. I got to go overseas because of hockey. I got to play in Sweden for a bit. I got to play minor pro for a while because of hockey. I got to go visit other towns, other countries because of hockey. I got to meet a lot of new people because of hockey. Hockey has afforded me a lot of things that a lot of other people couldn't get. And I can say growing up in a small town with all the support has helped me tremendously in where I've gotten with my hockey career. I think First Nation communities should really, really, really be proud of what our founders and you guys have done for us. This is a great tournament. Like, there's a lot of people non-native that really want to get into this tournament, that want to play. But unfortunately, it's just for us. I think in the future, this tournament can only grow. And if there are a lot of people out there that are willing to get involved, especially the corporate sponsors, it'd be a great step for them. For them and for us, it's a win-win situation. I see in the future this being a really, really marquee event for scouts, especially for the Bantams and Midgets. You turn 13 or 14, this is going to be a great, great, great thing for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lajeunesse.
Just for us.
Wow, what an honor. I'm a little bit more used to standing in front of a bunch of hockey players and giving a speech now that I'm coaching. I don't play much anymore. So, I wrote a speech. I lost it. Then I found it. I lost it again, and I've been working on another one. I got 5 pages here, so I just might chuck all of it. It's a great honor to be here, especially with all these gentlemen here and these ladies and all of you. Thanks for having us here. First 2 people I like to thank are my mom and dad. Without them, I wouldn't be here. Mom's greatest achievement was me. Mom's greatest achievement was all her kids. It's really exciting to see what's going on. Now that I don't play in the LNHL anymore, I'm a parent, and I can understand what all the other parents went through. There's a lot of time, a lot of sacrifice, a lot of dedication, a lot of money. My goodness, we got 4 kids that at one time played at every level. I heard some of you used to have 6 kids. Unbelievable. Give yourselves a hand for sticking it out. I want to say thank you to all my mentors, my coaches, all my friends, the rest of my family. Without your support, this wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have got to where I got. I wouldn't have got to see what I got to see. I wouldn't be here receiving this great honor. So thank you to all you people that were there along the way. Give me that little push. Thanks. A friend of mine said not too long ago, we need heroes, and I had my heroes. I watched the T-Birds play in the McCollum Arena, and let me tell you, those were some great games. Those were my mentors, those were my heroes, along with Bob York, of course. Thank you to those guys, our pioneers. Hockey's a great game in McCollum, and I really appreciate the support, even today, that I'm getting, even as a coach and not a player. Thanks. And of course, to all the fans. Without the fans, there's really not much of a game. It's kind of like our Thursday night game at home. The wives don't even come out anymore. They've seen us play way past our prime. Thanks, hon, for letting me go up Thursday nights anyway. And, you know, I really appreciate the fans. I want to make a special note to the fans. Every community has one special fan. I'm sure you can look around the room and you'll see your special fan. And Wiki, we got our special fan. Eric, you want to stand up? I'll always remember Eric's favorite phrase, don't be shy, it's only a piece of rubber. Got me psyched. For the past, well, since I got the word, I've been kind of reflecting on the past. Trying to go back and think what really got to me about the Little NHL again, after that horrendous interview. I wish I could put that over. I think the Little NHL, what it means to me, is a gathering of big family. Look at us. We all come together. I love it. This is great. This is what it's all about. Ted said it really good. He said we compete to win, we compete to have fun. I think most of all we compete with passion and brotherhood. One thing I remember, again, most, was that you got to play for your own town. And you really played under no pressure. There was no pressure. You played to have fun, but you played to win, of course, but really no pressure. Nowadays, our kids, they're under a lot of pressure to succeed, to excel. So maybe I'm guilty.
maybe we should just back off a bit and let the kids have fun. I like the idea of the mobile. I think I might have a few things I can donate to that. I'll certainly do that. Again, I'm really proud of this honor. I stand in really good company. I can't believe I'm here. There are a ton of people that I know have played this game, have coached this game, have been around, that could be here. But I feel really fortunate, and thank you. They say Canadian hockey is the best. Well, I agree, but guess what? Niche hockey rules. Look at all the guys we got coming up now. We got Chichu. We got Nolan, who was there. We got a lot of guys that have been there and that are coming up. And I'm really proud of that. I'm proud to be Aboriginal today. Okay. I want to say a really big thank you to the Little NHL executive for putting on such a great show, for honoring me for being here. They do such a great job, the past executive, the present, and of course the future that will be coming down. I'm sure this event will just carry on and grow and grow and grow. So congratulations to the executive for such a great show. Congratulations to all you fans, supporters, parents, grandparents, everybody. The Little NHL does not happen without you. Thank you.
But to all of you, I say a million chimigwetches for keeping the Little Native Hockey League alive. At this time, I want to call on the Blue Wolf drum. We're going to ask the inductees to make their way around the drum. I want us everyone to stand and honor the first inductees into the Little Native Hockey League